Hi, you're listening to Book Chat with author Vivian E. Moore.
Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode. We really appreciate you joining us. This podcast really shows us how we can all learn, live, and thrive off of each other. By sharing our knowledge through our conversations, we will impart some knowledge whilst learning ourselves how to progress even further. Here is your host.
Hello and welcome to Book Chat. I am your host, author Vivian E. Moore. I hope everyone had a wonderful long holiday weekend. I hope that you were able to come together safely and celebrate Memorial Day, celebrate our fallen soldiers, those in our vets, to celebrate them because they deserve it. And to know that that we thank them for keeping us safe. I know a lot of people are still shut in and still working from home because of the pandemic. And so I know that, a lot of people are not being able to come together and, do things corporately as they done them in the past. So I just want to make sure that everyone is staying safe and practicing social distancing, because that is still in play. That is still important until this virus dissipates. If and when that happens, we want to make sure that we're staying safe and keeping our loved ones and those that are around us safe as well. So we're going to get right to today's show. I don't want to hold you for too long, so we're going to get right at it. So here we go. So the title of today's show is Keeping It Real, and the topic is narrative relatability. In times like these, we expect truthfulness, at least as close to the truth as one can get. And we see it every day. People in high positions are now called out for basically lying and spreading false narratives. So as writers, our audience deserves relatability from the narratives we construct, and super important to see things from their point of view. What better way is there to connect with readers and develop relationships with them in ways they can feel the honesty and passion behind the story? There is nothing more satisfying than identifying with a character from a reader's perspective, to move them in ways that they see themselves portrayed when they can identify with those characters. It is vital as writers to engage readers throughout the narrative with reflective dialogue made possible based on how the authors write the stories and the expectation of the readers. Most of the time, it adds to the expectation of the readers. Most writers realize that the narratives they create aren't for them, but designed to accommodate the readers and personalize each story that forms lasting partnerships with them. I can tell you that I have read so many books that I completely identified with. And a lot of times I've gone back and read these books again and again and again, because I fall so deeply in love with the characters and the images that they project, and how the story is written. Because I identify with the story, I identify with the characters, and that's so important. So there is power in relatability. In some ways, readers feel represented and therefore understood. Even politicians are aware of how important it is to don relatable personas, even if it lasts no longer than an election. But again, writers want to build lasting partnerships with readers. That's how most writers become bestsellers, because they've written a book that affects people so emotionally, so physically, that they can't put the book down and they want to share it with other readers, and once they do that, you're hooked on continuing to creating stories that that envelop the readers, that bring them in as a partnership to the stories that you've designed, the stories that you've created. And that is so important to think past yourself, because I know as writers, we put a lot of us into those stories, and it's equally important to add those readers, because when you add those little details, and sometimes big details in stories, people relate to that. It's like, oh my gosh, they're talking about me. They're talking about my story. They're talking about my life. That to me brings so much joy to hear people say that, when they do the reviews of the stories, and they say, oh, I love this book so much because it touched me so deeply. And, you hear it a lot in books that are nonfiction, but you also hear it in books that are also fictional. The characters are also fictional, but they're written created with so much dimension that people start to see them, as living, breathing beings. And that's what you want to do when you're writing a story. You want to make it believable as possible. You want to collect those things that make those characters human, and you want to adorn them with all of these character traits, because that is so important. It is so vital as a writer, not to just write a story because, you decide, I think I want to write a book. When you write a story and you develop the characters, you see bits and pieces of yourself and people that you've interacted with, maybe family members or friends or neighbors or just whomever, someone who left a lasting impression on you. And you take all of those details and you create a portrait like an artist with these characters. You paint on these levels of distinction, these levels of personalities, and just all of the character traits that go into being relatable. And that's what we should do, because relatability is inspiring. Ask any child who emulates a parent or any figure of authority. Written words can have that same effect, and depending on the subject matter, often life-changing. Understand each narrative is an investment for the writer and reader, and garner respect through each story. Now, I know that all accounts aren't relatable, but on some level, even the most exceptional skeptic at some point can find the most minute point relatable. And that's what I want to leave you with here today, folks. I want you to, find something that motivates you, something that inspires you in the characters that you read about in these books, and in ways that you can apply to your everyday life. I've read so many books to where, like I said again, I want to share them. It's like I can't keep it to myself. I have to tell someone about it, because it's just it just left such a lasting impression on me. And I have to talk about it. And it was one of the reasons why I wanted to do this show, why I developed this show, Book Chat, because it was so important to me to be able to build a platform, first of all, but also to be a voice that can lend a helping hand to a hand between the writers, the authors, and then the readers. So I wanted to be that go-between to not only, give advice and have guests on the show that could give advice and tell you about their own personal experiences, but also to incorporate those readers to let them know that, that's why we're here. We appreciate you because you keep us busy. You help us grow as writers, through those reviews that you give and the books that you share with other readers. We thank you so much for that, because that is so important, and it let us know that we're doing something right, and I'm very appreciative of it. I really am. I take nothing for granted, and I know how some people, sometimes they can get the big head when everything is going their way. but it's not about that. It's about forming lasting relationships, lasting partnerships with the readers, to bring them into the story as well. I know that they're buying the books, they're supporting us in that way, but we want to support them too in the stories that we write. We want to bring them in, so so they can climb into that story and see themselves through those characters' eyes. So this point of view, I just want you to know, I have to give you this. I have to let you know that this point of view is not a thesis on how to sell more books, but only food for thought for times when we need a little positivity. And remember, many false narratives are circulating throughout the atmosphere. So isn't it better to create narratives that keep it real? All right, folks. So that's all I have for you today. But before I let you go, I want to make sure that I give you these URLs so you can stay in contact with me, and also listen to the show, the recorded versions, the recorded episodes, at your convenience. So anyway, the first one is through Spreaker, and it is https://www.spreaker.com/user/author Vivian Moore. You can also follow me, like me, on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. And Instagram is by invitation only. And also, you can check out my website, and that is at www.authorvivianemore.com or www.ehshepherd.com. Also, if you read my blog, that is on vivianemore.blogspot.com. And you can also download each episode on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, CastBox, Deezer, Podcast Addict, Podcast Chaser, YouTube, and SoundCloud. And I also discovered last week that Book Chat, my show, has it's gone international now. So now you can, wherever you are in the world, you can download these episodes. So I am so thankful for that is reaching just not here in the States and other places, but pretty much all over the world. So I'm thankful for that. And also, again, I want to make mention of the anniversary of Book Chat that's coming up. I said February last week, and that was so wrong. I don't know why that stuck in my mind, but that was not correct. But actually, it's in July, and so I want to try to reach 10,000 downloads if I can, and I really need your help in doing that, because that would definitely be a milestone for me. Because I've been doing this show for almost 3 years, and so I'm excited about it, and I want you to be excited about it too. So, folks, tomorrow is Worship Day, and we want to remember again to stay safe. If you are going out to church, follow the guidelines that have been set forth to make sure that you stay safe and keep those around you as well safe. And also invite your neighbors and family members, in to listen to the sermons that are being preached, by way of telephone or through some form of web viewing. Just make sure that you do that, because everybody needs to hear the word, especially in times like these. And also tell someone that you love them, because tomorrow is not promised. Today may be the only chance you get to say that. So I love you. I hope you love me back. Until the next time you hear my voice, God bless you and goodbye.
This week's episode has come to an end, but the fun doesn't have to stop here. If you have any questions, suggestions, or feedback, head over right now to Twitter and Facebook and like, share, and get involved. Join us next time.